Hi, I'm Silvan. I am currently based in Dublin. I'm originally from Germany, though. And fun fact, maybe I work for LinkedIn. And I am not only autistic, but I also have ADHD. I am what you would call a late diagnosis. So I got my ADHD diagnosis in December 2018, and then by accident, really, my autism diagnosis last year. Although I do reject the word diagnosis because I, for once, don't call myself disabled, but for me, I'm neurodivergent. I am disabled physically, but that's another story. But for me, my neurodivergence is actually something empowering. Um, but that's what like David was said. It's like we are all different and we all learn from each other. And like I've only really recently have come to terms with my neurodivergence and reached out to the community and learned and met so many interesting people. But to say, yeah, so like I'm a late diagnosed, so I unconsciously masked basically my whole life, I would say. Um, I think I didn't mask too much up and until I left school because grew up in a very traditional German family, I'd say. Like we had very traditional values, but at the same time very open-minded. So I had like the good mix of both, I guess. I could be myself, but for me, like for instance, my number one value is still family. And like I was raised to like if there's an elderly lady, help her across the street or hold her the door, like like those kind of things. That's how I was raised, and that's how I still am. And there was a good time where I wasn't really proud of it. Now I am because I understand that's how it defines me. And then when I had to go out in real life, well, things changed. So I think then you kind of start. I think in my case, like I mean, I had a spine injury in my early 20s, which kind of made me switch careers. So like I went from trying to be a performing artist and martial artist to um doing translation and business consulting. So you see, there's a huge shift, and because I love my creative art, and because that's where I could be who I wanted to be, well, which was myself. And well, then also be able to like put a mask on, but that was because it was my job. So I enjoyed doing it, and then go back out in the real world and be myself again. And then that spine injury kind of changed everything. And then, well, you very, very quickly realize in order to get ahead in life, you kind of have to fit in. And that's where the masking started. Back then, I started with me. I think it started quite early. Like I was 21. Yeah, so and so I was working as a freelancer. I wanted to achieve things in life, like what I was doing. So, like, yeah, in order to get ahead, I had to like just kind of like unconsciously, consciously stop doing certain things that I would normally do, such as, like swimming, for instance, like fidgeting around or not looking people in the eye, maybe sometimes if I didn't feel like it, or I don't know, breathe very loudly in a meeting, even though it's inappropriate. And so that sort of happened. And then, well, let's put it this way, there have been probably a few traumatic moments in my life. And then COVID happened. Um, and I got COVID in March 2020. And then I got long COVID, ran around with it for about a year without knowing. That triggered other health issues and then eventually got me into a hospital last year for a couple of weeks. But before that, um, in summer, I think it was end of May, early June, I had to see a new psychiatrist to get my ADHD medication because the old one went on, he retired. So, and the way that it works in Ireland, only psychiatrists are allowed to prescribe you such medication because it's highly controlled because it's well, um, narcotic after all. So long story short, I went to this guy on a very, very bad day, knowing that I had to spend a lot of money just to get my pills. And I just got another promotion, and like there was a lot of stuff going on that wasn't making me feel very social that day. So I'll jokingly say, like, I probably was this. If you were to take the DMV-5, I was probably this textbook autistic. I went into that meeting staring at the wall the entire time. I did not look at this guy's face for a single time. And I spoke probably for an hour straight, facing the wall. And like mentioning a lot of things that I would normally wouldn't say to any person because it just wouldn't feel right. And that's how I got my diagnosis. And from there, like basically my life started making sense. Just like a lot of things that didn't work out or were different from what I thought they should have worked out, or I did things that I were irrational even to myself, and I didn't understand why I was doing them back then. Like in work situations, romantic situations, everyday life situations, whatever. And so nowadays I understand, like, okay, it's because I didn't really know who I was. And therefore I did things that I didn't even understand. And for me, it was more of a giving moment, probably because I had the same situation with my ADHD a few years prior. So back then it was different for me. There was a lot more anger involved, I must say as well. And when I had to come to terms with that, things that happened in my life or didn't work out in my life, such as me blowing up a very large business deal because I impulsively said something I shouldn't have said. And that cost me a lot of money. And nowadays I'm forgiving about it, because that's, well, it was my ADHD. I mean, I was young. I was like 23. You know, it happens. And then it's like realizing that all the things that kind of got you to that point is because you were masking, because you were hiding yourself in plain sight, as I like to call it, because you do things in your everyday life. Like masking, I think the closest is that it for a neurotypical person is probably say you have a bad day and you have to go to work and you don't want to show it. So you put a smile on. That's it. And that's basically what I do when I mask. Just, I do this in everyday life situations on a constant basis, 24/7 sometimes. If I'm around people that I don't know very well, or where it's just, I feel it's inappropriate to be my true self. And you can imagine what kind of toll that can take on a person. And I sometimes still do it, because even with my mom, even so, she said I shouldn't be doing that. But what you would probably call a resting bitch face. If I have like my thinker face that just doesn't feel like masking. So I look quite mad, and I've been told by a few people. And so sometimes, just because my mom still forgets, even though it's been a year, I don't take it badly, but sometimes I just can't be bothered. So what do? Like, I smile. It's like an automatism for me to just smile, but it is after all masking. It's not that I don't mask, I do. Or you do it at work because you're holding a small, like, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy small talk, but not all the time. Or you work in the office and someone tries to hold small talk with you and you do that small talk, even though you really don't feel like it. And the only thing you want to do is just walk away. And nowadays, which is my part of my demasking process, and like me being so open about it, is I just do. I said, I'm sorry, just not today. Like, I just don't have the mindset. I'd really love to talk about your cat right now, but it's gonna have to be another time. Just right now, I don't have the space for it. But sometimes, just because you want to be nice, or because you feel that person really needs someone to talk to, you just do it. It is after all masking, because, and then I don't say it's wrong to do that, but it's like, it's finding that moderation, and then finding ways that society, the rest of society, accept that it's okay that even if that person is having a very bad time, I can walk away. Or what I can do is maybe try to learn the technique to find someone else for the person to talk to, just to make me feel to like help without having to help myself. But it's all around understanding that we do things differently than most other people, such as stimming. It's like, and I do this sometimes because I stim in my office. Like, I go back to the office because I do enjoy it sometimes, and it's easier for me to work. Also, please remind me when I should be stopping, because I forgot to watch the clock when I started. So, and then it's like I stim. Like, I sit at my desk and I have like this little ball or whatever I feel like stimming with, and I just do it. And depending on what kind of people you have in the office, you either feel comfortable or not so comfortable. And there are days where you feel it's like you just sense it's uncomfortable to do it, and you need to stop, even though it's the one day that you actually really, really need to do it because you really need to focus. And then you're going back to you mask, and it's, as I said, like the everyday situations. It's in a supermarket. It can be, yeah, me having to have a phone call, or like, not that my company does that, but I know that there are companies out there that force their employees to turn on the camera, and I certainly have days where I do not wish to turn on my camera. Maybe because simply I'm sitting in a very strange position, which happens sometimes, which would be looking very good on camera. Or because I like to walk around to my apartment while I have the call, because I don't really have to talk. Because I can't sit still because I'm too hyperactive. And then if I was one of those people who work for such a company, well, then I would have to just sit down and swallow it and just laugh and say, well, this is because that's me having to hide myself, even though I really don't feel like it. And that's like, it's fine if you do it every now and then, and I'll be totally fine doing this every now and then where I feel the setting is appropriate. And sometimes I will do it to my own harm, but that's nowadays luckily a conscious decision to do that. And if I don't feel comfortable, then well, I will go ahead and say it. And what we're trying to probably achieve is finding ways to convey that it should be that people should be showing that it's okay to be that way, or do things differently, just them to walk away when you don't feel like it, or not look at you in the eyes when they have a conversation with you, because they, like, for a lot of autistic people, it's uncomfortable. For me, it's a very daily mood kind of situation that they whether I like the person or not, to be honest. That's play a huge part as well. But the days to days. And then with my friends or close colleagues nowadays, I know, okay, they know that I will have days when I can look them in the eye and have a very happy conversation, and there will days that will be looking to the wall or the floor, whatever. And that's okay too. And like, hopefully at some point in the future, the rest, it's gonna be completely normal for everyone. So